What's up, movie maniacs? I'm Matt.
And I'm Zach.
And this is the previews, everyone's favorite part of the movie. Hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, hit that bell icon. This week, we went ahead and saw the Lego Movie 2, the second part, starring Chris Pratt, Elizabeth Banks, Will Arnett, Tiffany Haddish.
And of course, directed by Mike Mitchell, who brought us classics such as Trolls and my personal favorite, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Chipwrecked.
Oh, well, my personal favorite that he directed was Deuce Bigalow, Meryl Gigolo. Now, we do want to go ahead and preface this as well. Lord and Miller, the same guys that directed and wrote the first one, wrote and produced the second one. So there's still a lot of people from the first one hopping on board for the second one. So on to my question. Does this movie make you feel like everything is awesome? Or does it make you feel everything is not so awesome?
I feel like everything is okay in this movie. I feel like everything is okay.
Well, why do you say okay?
Well, I guess I will get into the story first things first.
Okay.
The story, I really did enjoy where they went with the second part. I feel like the first one was such an interesting idea, and it was great how they put all these Legos in a Lego world, but with humans looking down upon it. It's just, humans playing with Legos. And I thought that was so cool and interesting. And it hasn't really been done in movies previously until this movie, or at least done to this extent.
Yeah.
And I really did like the story. I felt like they still had the love family element in it towards the end, like they did in the first one. And I was interested. I was interested to see where it was exactly going.
I think the first Lego movie is one of the best animated movies we have had in about 10 years. I think it's up there.
So
it is actually the only good movie that's based on a toy. So how everything was awesome in that movie, everything was terrible in this movie. God, I hated this movie.
Being a little harsh on it,
so
man.
I'm not being harsh, and I'll tell you why I'm not being harsh, okay? With sequels, you're supposed to be doing something different and original, right? Of course, you're supposed to bring the whole crew back together, and they're supposed to go out on different adventures. The first half of this movie is literally all callbacks to the first one. Listen, dude, I'm paying for a ticket. If I want to see the first movie, I'll watch the first movie. I don't need you to slap me in the face over and over again with stuff that happened in the first movie. I totally get it. Like, it picked off right after the first movie ended, and then it went off on the same stuff. And I can't.
Different.
It was
different. I mean, they did do a lot of jokes from the previous movie, I will say. I mean, I will also say the first half is definitely worse than the second half, because I do agree with you, a lot of it was relying on those jokes from the first movie. As I said before, I did really like the story, and it kept me slightly invested. I wasn't necessarily sitting there like rolling my eyes or like, oh, like this is just the first movie recycled. It was just like, oh, I remember that. Then I feel like a lot of it was made up in the second half.
We understand that this movie, typically, these type of movies aren't made for us, right? Like, they're more geared towards, children. However, exactly. However, the first one, and same thing with a lot of Pixar movies, Disney animated, DreamWorks movies, there's something a lot of adults can enjoy out of it, but also kids can enjoy. If the first one is geared more towards adults and kids, why couldn't have they done the same with this one? I really felt they really dropped the ball, because a lot of the jokes that were coming off, they weren't that funny. I was sitting there, I mean, how many times in that movie did I groan and roll my eyes? And I normally don't do that, I'm very respectful. But I was just like, ugh. And another thing, too, I know you said the second half got better. I felt it stayed the same plane, because they have two of the worst musical numbers I've ever heard in cinema history.
They tried to make another Everything is Awesome, and they failed. They failed really bad. There's one big song that I'm not going to really spoil necessarily, but there's one big song that tried to be the next Everything is Awesome, and it was really, really bad, and it was
annoying.
It was very annoying, very annoying. But there was a few other musical numbers that I at least was bobbing my head to.
What about the cast? I thought the cast was fine.
Fine, yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of people did return for this one,
which is great. However, there's one specific cameo in there. We're not going to spoil it. Probably one of the best cameos of all time. I will say that cameo that kept popping up, it was hilarious. So we already talked about it earlier today, that Mike Mitchell was the new director for this film. But Lord and Miller, the guys that did the first one, they also did the Spider-Verse movie, and they're also attached to do the Han Solo movie, which, by the way, Kathleen Kennedy, you're a fool for letting those guys go. These guys do have somewhat talent, you know? But like I said, you mentioned that the jokes were still there. They were very Lego movie-ish. And if you haven't seen them, it's very hard to describe. It's very sarcastic, but very organic. Those jokes are still present throughout the movie, but I feel with Mike Mitchell's directing, again, you go ahead and you go back to his classics like Deuce Bigelow, the Troll movie, and I whispered to you something maybe 10 minutes into the movie. What did I whisper?
Just something feels off with this movie. That's what he said. Just something feels off, and you couldn't quite pinpoint what it was.
And now that I had time to marinate, that's exactly what I think was off, because I feel like with Lord and Miller, their movies are so like, it's tight, right? So it's like they do a joke, and they go on to another joke, and they go on to another joke, right? It felt like this movie was waiting for a laugh track that just wasn't there.
I 100% agree with you when you say that this movie was geared a lot more towards kids than kind of for both kids and adults like the first one.
Exactly.
But I still enjoyed it. It still had its moments. I definitely can remember quite a few moments that I'm going to remember for a bit, like the first one. Not nearly as many. And will I ever rewatch this movie again? Probably not.
Okay.
So overall, I'm going to go 2.5 Dolphins with top hats out of 5.
I'm going to be honest, I was extremely disappointed. I thought this was even lower than Glass disappointment for me this year. I'm going to give it 1.5 glitter packets out of 5. Well, that's it today, Movie Maniacs. We will see you next week with another review. But if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, hit that bell icon, and we will see you next week on The Previews.